Close the eyes. And right out of the gate, can you feel into your joints and your muscles and just notice how, with this warmer weather, there seems to be a bit more pliability in the body. So in winter time, we spend so much time warming up, and then we arrive in this like kind of summerish season. And this late in the afternoon, oftentimes with this kind of temperature, the body will already feel warm. So just noticing that. And then come into noticing the breath. Allowing it to be long and smooth in the way that you're breathing it. And can you feel how the inhalation is cool, like cool air is brought into the body? And then the exhalation is warm, having been inside of you. If you have a practice of Ujjayi, then you can begin that here, which is wrapping the throat around the breath in a delicate way. So thinking of your throat like a cylinder that can close ever so snugly around the inhalation and the exhalation. And that brings about that sound, like a whisper, like the ocean. Stay with that rhythm of breath and allow your eyes to open. Take your arms up and over your head so they're long by your ears, and walk your legs, both of them, over to the right. So the lower part of your body starts to represent like a crescent type position. And then can you press into the back of your forearms and scoot your shoulder blades over to the right and angle your right ear towards your right shoulder so your whole body is like a sliver crescent moon on your yoga mat. And feel that side bend happening, or that lengthening along the left-hand side of your body. And breathe generously into the left-hand side. And for the next breath or two, you might want to cross your left ankle over your right, which for me creates a little more sensation along the outside of the left hip. Maybe the same will be for you too. And this lengthening of this, it's called the lateral line or the side line of fascia, or like kind of connective tissue in the body. If you did cross the ankle over top, unhook that left ankle, walk your legs to the center, scoot your upper body to the center, and now it's time for the legs to walk left and the upper body to scooch. Very technical term there, scooching. Shoulder blades to the left, bring the left ear towards the left shoulder, feel the side bend, breathe into it. And again, as we stay a few more breaths, you can hook right ankle over the top of the left ankle. Then uncrossing right ankle, legs back to the center, inch your upper body back to the center as well. And then arms by your sides, palms down, knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor. Press into your feet, lift your hips a little bit off the ground, and twist your hips a little side to side. So it's kind of like you're dropping one hip towards the floor as you let the other hip raise, and then shifting that. Think of this as like rotating the pelvis ever so slightly. It's just loosening up that sacrum area, a little bit of rotation for the lumbar. And this also wakes up the quads and the hamstrings some. And come to where the pelvis can be level. Lengthen your buttocks towards your heels and then lay your sacrum on the ground. So let the back side of the pelvis come to rest. Then palms are positioned, so pinky side of the hand down, thumb side of the hand up. Use your breath to take you in and out of rolling bridge. So as you inhale, lift the hips evenly, tap the thumbs up over the head. And exhale, can you time it so the hips and the arms are coming down at the same time? So this kind of somatic experience of breath-oriented movement, this linking of the two. One last time, rising up. And as you're up there, can you hold it? Again, lengthen buttocks towards heels. Reach through the fingers, reach through the side body. And then use an exhalation, time it out to lower the hips and lower the arms back along the sides of you. Then hug your knees in. As you do this, can you cross your ankles? Thigh bones close to rib cage. Reach into the knee pits, so you're going into the creases of your knees. And then peeling your head, your neck and your shoulder blades up off the floor. So with your eyes, you can see the tops of your knees, and then adding some spinal massage, which is rocking back and rocking forward. Stay rounded and try not to use too much momentum. So can you start to ignite the lower belly? Think of how strong the lower belly works in a position like cat rounding, right? And you can engage that same way here. And bring yourself all the way up. Cross over the fronts of your shins, place your hands to the floor, and come into a tabletop. Once you arrive in table, make it asymmetrical. So the left knee steps back by a few inches and the right hand steps forward by a handprint. So right arm is reaching a little and left leg is reaching back a little. And then move through cow-cat with this asymmetry. Following the breath. So again, it's that somatic experience of breath-oriented movement. And this may feel so weird, right? Because we're always just so perfectly aligned in cat-cow. But you know me, I love breaking the rules. Like new feedback for the system. As you next round into cat, feeling the strength of the low belly, find your way to a long spine and then switch. So it's right hand back, right knee back, left knee forward, left hand forward. So we get asymmetrical or wonky, but the other way. So there is symmetry in this. And cow-cat with left arm reaching a little forward, right knee stepped back a bit. One more time, exaggerate. Like, can you exaggerate the curvature in cow and then exaggerate the curvature in cat and then find your way back? Walk the hand back so it's even, and then step the left knee back so it's even with the right. So we're making a little distance between back of wrists, fronts of knees. Tuck toes, raise hips, up, back. First downward facing dog. And then I always offer like pedal or sway. Right, so you could do that, or you can just go rogue and like do a combo of a pedal and a sway. Like allowing the downward facing dog to start to feel watery. You could figure eight your hips a little bit. You could add a little twisting here. Like freedom to move in a way that feels like organic or intuitive. And then finding a more still downward dog. So long arms, long legs, long spine. And taking breath all the way in. And exhale, walk up, feet to hands. And here, come into half lift, and then just be in half lift. Maybe your hands are on your shins, maybe fingertips are plugged into the floor. Find from the hip sockets, reach down into the soles of the feet. From the tailbone, reach out through the base of your skull. And from the shoulders, press down through the hands. One more breath here. And can you stay as horizontal as you are? Maybe soften the knees a little so there's not so much ask on those hamstrings. Bring your hands to your hips, collarbones wide. And then charge the feet with pressing down so that you can lift your torso up. So you unhinge to stand. Release the arms by your side and Tadasana. Exhale everything. Legs firm, inhale, reach arms, lift eyes. Surya Namaskar A. Exhale, hinge, fold over, let the head go. And inhale, lengthen, crown reaching away from thigh bones. And exhale, go to plank, and we're pausing in plank. In plank pose, can you step your feet together and begin to turn your hips side to side, just like we were doing when we were lying on our back with our hips raised in bridge pose? Can you turn your hips side to side without letting your shoulders sway? What has to stabilize there? Back of the heart lifting, hands pressing, arms committed to staying straight. Pelvis level, step the feet to hips distance, deep breath in. Exhale, lower the knees, come forward and down. Root the whole pelvis evenly, untuck toes. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, tuck toes, roll the hips up and back into downward facing dog. In this down dog, can you bring awareness to the position of your shoulder blades on your back? And there's a cue I heard from somebody who's in this class right now that is so visual and delightful. And she offers, when you're in down dog, can you make it feel as if your triceps are trying to meet at your chin for a cup of coffee? So hear that and let your body respond accordingly. Shoulder blades stamped on the back side of the rib cage. Take a deep breath in without losing that. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward. Inhale, step or float, feet to hands. Keep inhaling, lift halfway. And exhale, fold. Strong in the legs, inhale, reach all the way up. It's like a rebound to the top. Exhale, return to Tadasana Mountain. Again, same way. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bow. Lengthen, inhale. Step to plank as you exhale. Bring your feet close. Turn your hips side to side without letting your shoulders sway side to side. What's that? There's a song, the Chubby Checker song, The Twist. Or Twist and Shout by the Beatles. Pelvis level, open the feet, inhale. Exhale, knees down, come all the way down. Maybe it's chaturanga for you. Root the legs, inhale, cobra. Exhale, tuck toes, hips back, downward facing. Shoulder blades ignited on the back. Rib cage draws up. Legs stay long. Even if the knees are bent, you can lengthen leg bones. And keep the shoulder blades or the scapula on the back of the rib cage. Take breath in. Exhale, crouch, look forward. Inhale, step or float, and half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to top. Exhale, and release the arms. Take hands to hips, open feet as wide as the hips. And then pull the shoulder blades together behind you. So you're going into like that squeezing of shoulder blades together. It's like elbows go back. When you did that, did your butt stick out? Can you keep your tailbone long? Tailbone long, chest open. Inhale, lift up, chin, chest. Exhale, bow forward. Grab your big toes with your index and middle finger. Then inhale, lengthen, straight arms. Thigh bones back, crown of head forward. So there's traction to reach the spine. Exhale, fold with that new length. This hand to big toe pose, or the double hand to big toe pose. So lengthen from the underside of your rib cage out through the crown of your head. So think bottom of the rib cage lengthening to crown. Finish exhaling so you empty out. Keep the hold of your big toes for now. And inhale the traction, reach, lengthen. Exhale, release the hold of the toes. Left leg goes back towards lunging. Left knee comes down to the ground, and so does left hand. Right. As soon as you put your left hand on the floor, I want you to lean your whole body weight into it, so that it's kind of like you shrug your shoulder by your ear on purpose over there. Then I want you to do the opposite of that. Push the ground out of the way so you step the shoulder blade onto your back. Keep that, turn, reach the right arm up. Then using the strength of the left thigh, can you lift the left knee off the floor so the back leg gets straight and strong? And this revolved but opened bodied twist. Really softly, without losing left shoulder, land the left knee back to the ground. And release right hand to floor. Pull back, runner stretch, or the half split position. Find length of your trunk, shoulder blades on the back side of the rib cage, crown of head reaching towards the front of your yoga mat. And then start to do turn out, turn in of your right foot. So this is actually turn out, turn in of your right hip. But the foot is the end point that happens to move because the root, which is the thigh bone, is moving in this way. Go into the turnout position, like pinky toe curiously close to the floor with that much turnout. Pull your right hip back. Reach from the underside of your rib cage out through the crown of your head. IT bands. And come back to right toes pointing up. Bend your front knee, lift your back knee, turn your back foot in and down, and from here build a triangle. So straightening front leg, hand to shin or hand to floor, open up, broad to the left, reach the left arm to the sky. And then what's happening with the shoulder, the bottom one, right? So that's the right shoulder blade. It's on the back side of the rib cage. So it'll feel like it's kind of pulling down and wrapping. Bend your front knee, look down, touch down both hands, step back, downward facing dog. You can stay in down dog or you can breathe your way through a vinyasa. You could also add the twist and shout in your vinyasa. And we'll meet back in downward facing. From down dog, left leg up, back, behind. Exhale, left foot forward and through. Right knee to the floor. Same work, sink weight into your right arm and shrug. And then do the opposite. Push the ground out of the way, unshrug. Feel how you already start to open to the left and then reach left arm up. So open-bodied turning. Now add like a galvanized right thigh as you straighten your right knee. It lifts off the floor. Without losing shoulder stability on that right-hand side, let the right knee come down. Touch floor left hand. Pull back, runner's stretch, half Hanuman's pose. Get into all the lengthening components. Right? So it's like left hip back, crown of head forward, spine forward, and then add that internal external rotation where you're turning your hip out and hip in, thigh bone out, thigh bone in. Your foot's coming along for the ride. And then going into the turnout and pausing there. Lengthen. Coming back to left toes pointing to sky, back of left heel grounded. Bend your left knee. Lift your right knee, turn your back foot in and down so it is angled, and then from the ground, come up into triangle, straightening left leg. Reach right arm. What's the left scapula doing? Position it. Glancing down with eyes, bend front knee, touch ground. Step back, down dog. Vinyasa or no vinyasa, you could twist and shout in your vinyasa. We'll eventually all meet up back in downward facing. And then take a breath in downward facing dog, stamping shoulder blades on the back. As you exhale, bend your knees and crouch. Look forward, inhale, feet to hands, lengthen. And exhaling, fold. Inhale, reach all the way up to the top. And exhaling, release the arms by your sides. Pick up your yoga block and come to stand like Tadasana. Have the block in your right hand. And we're going to do a little block passing. So you're going to take the block overhead to your left hand. Then your left arm reaches behind to give the block to your right hand. Right? So in front of the body, behind the body. Passing. Kind of like around the world style. And you could go slow, you could go fast, like you can mess around with this. Try to do it with straightish arms. So we're in front with the right and behind with the left. Reverse what you're doing. Pass it to the right, reach the right behind to give it to the left. You'll feel the shoulder blades, right? Depending on how heavy your block is, you'll feel those muscles that move the shoulder blades in all those directions, they start to work here. One more around the world, all the way around the world. And then release your block off to the side. Stand long on your yoga mat, open up wide. Set your arms out horizontally so wrists are above ankle bones. Pressing shoulder blades into the back side of the rib cage. You're already going to feel them awake from what you just did. Turn your right foot out, bend your right knee, warrior two. Think of lengthening from arm to arm, while at the same time lengthening from tail up through the base of the skull. Then reach forward and away with your upper body so the right hip crease gets deep, deep, deep. And then take it into extended side angle. You could go hand to floor, elbow to thigh, top arm sweeping over. And reach the arm as if you're reaching the arm overhead from the lower belly. Then look down with the eyes. Inhale, rise up. Use the back arm as leverage to take you up. Pivot your feet, interlace your hands behind you. Inhale, chest and eyes lifting. Exhale, you fold. Arms go up and over as your head hangs. If your head touches, let it. And quality of breath. So you'll notice in forward folds, they're soothing for most. Right? The breath will often deepen and clear from its jagged edges. And press down into the both feet simultaneously. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Go back to horizontal reaching. Feel the igniting under the blades of the shoulders. Left foot turns out. Bend your left knee, warrior two. Then as the trunk goes forward or towards that left knee, the deepening of left hip crease happens then into extended side angle. And the reaching arm, it's not coming from your shoulder blade. It's it's coming out of your belly. Look down with the eyes. Pull back through the upper arm. Come all the way to standing. Orient the feet so the 10 toes are facing. Reach back, interlace, but this time interlace in a way that it feels weird. So we always catch the fingers in the same way, and it's oh, it's so familiar, we're ready to fold forward. Go to the one where you're that feels awkward. And then do that variation. Inhale, lift chest and chin. Exhale, fold, take the arms over. While you're folded, release the awkward clasp, touch ground, lengthen inhale, pivot left to the front of your yoga mat, step back, downward dog, vinyasa if you want it. From your down dog, bring yourself forward to plank once again. And then exhale, lower the knees to the floor. Now we're coming side lying, so I want you to create propped up on your forearm. So I'm going to start with my left forearm grounded, and I have the elbow crease in front of the left shoulder crease. Right? And that palm is facing down. So think of the forearm as like perpendicular to the front of your yoga mat. And then the situation with your legs is that your legs are long, your whole body is long, but your knees are bent and your feet are behind you. So think like the knees are bent to the 90-degree angle. Right? Okay, and then this upper hand is going onto your hip. So what we're going to try to do is root down into the bottom forearm, stabilize the scapula while lifting the hips and lifting the right leg. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. Bring your hand to your hip. And you're going to go up, the underside of your body tones up, and the right leg lifts. Yep. And then you come back down, let it all settle. Okay, we're doing this a bit up. So it's kind of like the hip hikes, the right knee climbs, stabilize the scapula underneath you, and then come back down. Do it maybe 3 more times here. So a clear up to a clear down. Whole time, the left shoulder really isn't moving, right? But the rest of the body is moving around the left shoulder. One more time. Up like this modified side plank, and then bring it back down. Now, swing your legs around and position yourself for the other side of that work. So opposite forearm goes down. Really, it's right underneath you. So there's no ability to shrug. You're anti-shrugging. Create a long line. It's kind of like kneeling, right? Upper hand to hip. And there's a rooting down, a lifting, and the top leg is floating up. And then you come back down. So you'll breathe in a way that makes sense to you. But I want you to feel like the side body working, the left shoulder really not moving its position whatsoever. The rest of the body is moving around that shoulder. And there's a little bit of glute work in here too. One more time, bring it up and all the way down. Okay. And then come up to seated, like Navasana prep. So instead of having your legs super tight together, let's go feet at hips distance. Arms horizontal in front of you. Sit up tall and take the whole length of spine back. So that like hinging. Palms facing into each other. And if you've ever done archery, this will come naturally to you. If you haven't, you're going to pretend. You're going to mime archery. Pull your right arm back like you're drawing on a bow. So that turns your chest to the right. And then extend that arm forward. Pull the left arm back like you're drawing on a bow. And back to forward. So we're doing this side to side work now. And we're pretty much a little bit out of vertical, but you could go way the heck back there. Right? So it becomes like the belly's getting farther away from the thigh bones as you're playing your archery game. You could even lift your legs. and play your archery game. Turn the chest. So there's a rotation in here for sure as you're pulling the bowstring back towards your heart. One more time each way. Come back to center, cross your shins, hands in front of you. Take it to plank. Lower the knees, come all the way down. Take a couple cobras, right? So we're stretching front body. Inhaling as you exhale, coming back down. It's not just about up in cobra, it's forward and up. Exhale back down. One more time, inhale, curl. And exhale, lower. Push back, child's pose, wide knees, belly between the thighs. Take a couple breaths here. Notice the cool of the inhalation, then the warmth of the breath that's leaving the body. And let's see if that work of scapular stability, rotation, or anti-rotation, hip opening. Let's see about working with a side plank. Come forward to hands and knees. Let's start in this tabletop together. Take a look back at your left shin and open it out to the side a little bit. So you use your knee as like a little pivot point to kick your shin out to the side. Turn your left hand out slightly and come to left knee, left hand, right leg back, right arm up. So you are doing the anti-shrug through the bottom shoulder, feeling the length along the top side of the body. So here is like bus stop 1 or exploration 1. Exploration 2 would be to take your right foot, step it in front of you, so your toes are pointing forward, like the same direction your nose is pointing. And then extend your left leg underneath you, right? So you're like side planking with a kickstand. Exploration 3 would be to stack your right leg on top of your left leg. Still anti-shrug work in the bottom shoulder. And exploration 4 would be to lift your hips higher and take the top leg as high as possible away from the bottom. Opening it up like a starfish. Nice, everyone. One more breath. If top leg is floating, lower it. Reverse your way out, foot in front, knee to floor, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, tabletop. Let's try that the other way. So I'm just going to orient differently on my yoga mat. Take your gaze to your right knee, kick your right shin out so it swivels. Turn the right hand out just slightly. That helps with the anti-shrug. Move into the variation with right hand under right shoulder or a little in front of. Right knee under right hip, left leg long, left arm up. And commit to that scapula living on the back side of your rib cage. Stay or explore exploration 2, left foot forward, right leg extending out underneath you. Shoulder blade still living in anti-shrug. Exploration 3, front leg on top of the bottom leg. Exploration 4, hips higher, hips higher, hips higher. Top leg way the heck up, like it floats to the top of the water. One more breath wherever you're at. And go out in phases. Top leg down, left foot in front, right knee under right hip, wrists under shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Come back to sitting on your heels. Walk your hands back enough that you can take some pressure off of the wrists. And then come up, make a clasp with your hands. You can do it the familiar way. And then do some wrist rolls. like figure eighting, just to release, right? There's a lot of pressure on the wrist through all those twisting shout planks, the side plank exploration work. And then bring yourself forward, hands and knees. Come into downward facing dog. And then if you want one last vinyasa, we're in this dog for that purpose, so you can take it. Otherwise, if you're in downward dog, lengthen the wrists, the arms, the legs, the spine. Together from down dog, take breath in. Exhaling, crouch, look forward, and inhale through to seated. You might jump, you might crawl, you might step. Take your legs out in front of you and fold your right knee back so the foot is down, the knee is up. And then cross your right foot over your left leg. Right. Now you have options. You can keep your left leg long, or you can bend your left knee and have that heel placed outside of your sitting bone. So we're getting ready for twisting. Sometimes it's nice to have the bottom leg long, so you decide. Square forward, right, and sit up uber tall. Then take your hands behind your head, interlace them like you're laying on the beach looking at the clouds. Take a breath in, get taller, and exhale, turn to the right. Now inhale, come back to the center. And exhale, turn to the right again. Keep your elbows wide. Last one, inhale, center. Exhale, turn to the right. Stay turned to the right. Release your left hand from the base of your skull. Left elbow outside of right knee, right hand to the floor behind you. So you see how we did that? We put ourselves into the twist in an active way. And now we can use the arms for a little bit of leverage to turn more deeply to the right. Use inhale, eyes forward, and exhale, unwind from your turn. Lean back, weight into your fingers, open your legs like a V, and then cross left over to outside of right thigh and decide, do you want right knee bent or right leg extended out in front of you? Your choice. The prep is the same, active range of motion before we get into passive or leverage. Tall, cloud gazing, elbows wide, breath in. Exhale, rotation to the left. Inhale back, wide, center. Exhale, rotation to the left again. Last one, breathing in. Turning left and then staying. Release right hand from behind head, hook right elbow outside of left thigh, left hand to ground. And now you use that little bit of push-pull to turn. Even the eyes glancing back to the left. In breath, eyes forward. Exhale, unwind yourself. Uncross the legs. See that you have room behind you to lay down. If you don't, slide forward and roll it down onto your back. When you get there, take your arms to cactus and let your feet go a little wider than your hips and your knees fall into each other. And while you're in cactus, can you alternate, like one arm is doing cactus but turned in and down, and then switching. Opposite arm turns in and down, opposite arm goes to cactus. So kind of like that move, the robot move, if you remember, in the late 80s. There's one called Scarecrow too. It's like a breakdancing move. So we're just working with the humerus bone, which is your upper arm bone, and your scapula, your shoulder blade, moving together. Scapulohumeral rhythm. It's like a dance. And come back to both arms in cactus. And then situate your legs hips distance, right ankle over left thigh. Lift your left shin and foot off the floor, so creating that figure 4. Do it actively. And then reach your cactus arms through to grab the back of the left thigh or through to the left shin, coming into a more passive version of the figure 4 on our backs. You could go side to side, adding that rocking. If you are rocking, find the center where you feel like your spine is most restful against the ground. Release your interlace. Go back to cactus, the arms. Uncross right ankle. Cross left over. And then picking up right foot, right shin parallel to the ground. Active figure 4 here. And then you can reach through and thread around. So hugging the shin or the thigh and pulling the legs in close. Maybe the side to side feels inviting. And finding the center where the spine is most resting, release the interlace, uncross the left ankle. Stretch your legs long. Before Shavasana, we'll do a little breath work together. So right leg long and left leg long. Arms by your sides. And closing the horizon line of your eyes. Connecting once again with the cool inhalation. And the exhale that's been warmed by your inner body. As you next exhale, can you empty out, like flushing the breath from the lungs? And now with this inhalation, make it 2-parted. So inhale roughly half of your breath. Pause. And then can you inhale the rest so you feel really full? Pause at the top. And exhale, let it all go, maybe even through an open mouth. A couple more, 2-part inhale. Inhale half. So you're stretching your lungs, pausing. Then inhaling the rest, filling up. Then holding the breath in the open lungs. And exhale, let them all go. And one more time, 2-part inhale. You'll notice your breath gets longer, especially that second part, like you can really swell like a barrel full of breath. Exhaling until you feel that emptying or that gentle contraction as the breath leaves the body. And then shake out wrists and ankles a little, maybe roll your head side to side rapid. Okay. Diffusing any leftover like energy that feels really kinetic. Then let the arms rest, let the legs rest, let the head find its heaviness and stillness. as you come into Shavasana. Giving yourself permission for this time to not have to be, to not have to perform, to not have to do. Like a dissolving of your form. Bringing awareness back to body resting, to breath moving in and breath moving out. Allowing the head to gently roll to the right and then to the left. Back and forth a couple of times. Rolling head to center, explore the length of arms, the length of legs. Bending your knees one at a time and rolling to your side. From there, feeling into the ground underneath you and creating and coming up to seated. And closing eyes, bringing hands together. This gesture of centering, this gesture of gratitude, this gesture of offering. May the merits of the practice we've done here today benefit all beings everywhere. Namaste.